Meanwhile, India is adjusting its crude oil imports as West Asia tensions disrupt supply through the Strait of Hormuz, a route that handles nearly half of its oil, with flows from the region falling. Refiners are now turning to Russia, Africa, Iran, and even Venezuela. While shortages have been avoided so far, import costs are on the rise and fuel price pressures have only been building. India, which is the world's third largest oil importer, usually sources about 50% of its crude via the Strait of Hormuz. But since late February, traffic through this critical route has slowed significantly following escalating conflict in the region. Despite the disruption, India has so far avoided petrol shortages, though cooking gas supply strains have been reported as well. The biggest shift has come from Asia, where Indian refiners imported nearly 1.98 million barrels per day of Russian crude in the month of March, which was up from around 1 million barrels per day in January and February. In fact, analysts say that this sharp jump followed a temporary US waiver on Russian oil. Shipments already at sea later extended for another month, which gave Indian refiners room to secure additional cargoes. And at the same time, India has revived older and alternative supplies as well. Imports from Angola surged to 327,000 barrels per day in March, which was nearly 3 times February levels. Iranian crude reached 276,000 barrels per day, that is by mid-April, while Venezuelan supplies stood at 137,000 barrels per day. These inflows mark a return to suppliers India had largely reduced engagement with in recent years due to sanctions as well as diplomatic constraints. However, total imports still declined. India's crude intake has fallen from 5.2 million barrels per day in February to around 4.5 million in the month of March, showing that alternative supplies have not fully replaced West Asian barrels. Experts warn African crude, while useful, cannot fully substitute West Asian grades due to refinery compatibility issues. Cost pressures are also building, with Indian refiners reportedly paying $5 to $15 per barrel above the Brent benchmark for April shipments. If sustained going forward, analysts warn that domestic fuel prices could rise by as much as 28 rupees per litre, though the government has so far held retail prices steady by cutting excise duties. In fact, so far, while India has successfully diversified its crude oil sources in short term, the broader picture still remains fragile, with rising costs, constrained supply routes, and even uncertainty over how alternate arrangements can hold if West Asia disruptions continue. For now, India has avoided fuel shortages, but the pressure on global oil flows is clearly starting to show at the pump.